Welcome back to another episode of Ranking the Weapon Presets. This time we'll be talking about the secondary preset weapons that we have on Payday 3. And let's get without wasting any time. I already want to shoot myself. First one we have on the list is the Glock Hard Liquid. The Glock is an okay weapon that is only effective against light enemies. Shields and heavy units completely counter the weapon because of their higher armor. And because of the low damage and low armor penetration, the weapon really struggles a lot. The only time it is really effective is, like I said, only against light units, and it's an emergency weapon if you need it. So sadly, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 10. The attachments that it has does not really change it that much. The compensator is practically forgettable because the recoil on the weapon is practically non-existent. You can literally bleed blind the shit and still be able to use it. The extended magazine helps the pistol a little bit, allowing you to kill a few more enemies, and that's pretty much it. So again, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 10 on the attachments. The design is okay. I like the blood that is like covering the weapon and like some part of it dripping off on the weapon, but it looks nice. But again, it's on the clock, so that's the only issue I really say. But hey, you know, it looks visually appealing. So it gets a 7 out of 10. The SP model is an incredible sidearm that is able to do a lot of damage both to light and heavy enemies. The only issue I have about the weapon is its small magazine capacity and slow rate of fire. But regardless, a powerful weapon if you're in trouble. It's really good. It is capable of killing light and heavy units much more easily with the right skills. It's pretty good, but the only issue is it has a slow rate of fire, but that slow rate of fire is practically forgettable because it's a higher caliber pistol, it actually does stun enemies much more easily, so you don't really have to worry about the slow rate of fire. So it gets a 8 out of 10 when it comes to effectiveness, and it's one of my favorites. But as a sidearm, essentially. The attachments are not really particularly great, honestly, but they're still pretty good. The Slate RDS is nothing special, like I said, but the suppressor is forgettable, but it does allow you to stealth a portion of the heist if you want to do it, of course. The Slate RDS does allow you to be much more precise with your shots instead of having to use the absolutely horrendous that is the iron sights. But like I said, the suppressor doesn't really add much, except it allows you to be able to stealth a portion of the heist if you want to. So it gets a solid 7 out of 10. The visual design of the pistol looks incredibly clean and very simple. Despite not having too much going on, I love the simplicity of the swirl that is going through the weapon, and the colors that fits to it is extremely fitting, and it goes extremely well together. And it doesn't really look complicated either, so it gets a really solid 9 out of 10. Next on the list that we have is the Castigo Tin Hammer. Is it called the Tin Hammer? I don't know, really remember, but who cares. The Castigo as a revolver is an effective sidearm that is able to one-shot light and heavy enemies with the right skills. The difference between this one and the other revolver being the Bison is the Castigo is far more accurate and easier to control, but at the cost of the rate of fire being much more slower. You have shots? Am I fucking high? You have 6 shots, so make it count. But other than that, it's an extremely effective weapon that will get the job done, able to one-shot literally 90% of the enemies without any issues. The attachments are so fucking boring that I will literally just fall asleep at this point. But the only one that is practically good is the ranged barrel that allows you to be able to do more damage against targets that are further away. And the hardwood grip is not really particularly important, so that's practically it. The big issue I have about the weapon presets modification is that it does not have any sort of side attachments whatsoever. But, you know, I'm not really going to complain about it, so it gets a solid 6 out of 10. The design is boring. I can literally just make a silver revolver with the customizations that we have in our arsenal. I don't really know what makes this a preset weapon to begin with. It's 1 out of 10. Do I really need to say anything? Next on the list is the Signature Square Up. Signature offers a decent damage, decent rate of fire, decent recoil, and handling. It's your stereotypical pistol that will get the job done regardless of what type of enemy it is. It is effective both against light and heavy units. It's really nothing special about the pistol, except it's a good old 7 out of 10. A pretty effective weapon that will get the job done when you need it. The attachments are a bit lacking, but, you know, it's nothing special. The grip is practically forgettable, and I also like the fact that it has a sight attached to it, allowing you to be much more precise with your shots and be more accurate. So, again, you know, there's really nothing special to it, so it gets a solid 6 out of 10. I really love the design of the Square Up. It has a far more unique and more distinguishable look to it. The colors and everything about the weapon looks incredibly good, and I like it. It's a perfect combination of, you know, goofy and good colors. So it gets a solid 10 out of 10. I really like the style of it, and the colors and everything. Now let's get into one of the best secondary weapon presets in the existence of Payday 3, that being the Long Ranger weapon preset. The Bison Revolver is also another weapon that is extremely effective revolver that is able to one-shot literally 99% of the enemies with the right skills. The difference between the Bison and the Castigo is the Bison has a much more faster fire rate than the Castigo, allowing you to be able to spam it against hordes of enemies without having any issue. The only problem I have with the Bison is the recoil jumps around a lot more, and the hipfire accuracy is less accurate than the Castigo. So there is a distinct difference to it. One is much more accurate and much more easier to control, and the other one is much more faster but harder to control. But again, it's a powerful revolver that is able to clean out a room really easily if you have good aim. So it's a solid 9 out of 10. Like I said, the only problem I have is the hipfire spread is sort of complicated and the recoil jumps around a little bit too much for me. And the attachment that it offers is also amazing. It has a sight that allows you to snipe enemies in the distance, the range barrel that deals more damage in the distance with much more ease, and the tack grip just makes the recoil much more easier and the swapping speed faster, but at the cost of the hipfire spread to be much more wider. A great set of attachment that goes well together, but it prioritizes on being a more of a pocket sniper, so it gets a solid 9 out of 10. The only issue I can really say about it is the fact that the hipfire spread is less accurate. But you're not really using this for close range, you're just using this as a pocket sniper. Finally, the visual design of the weapon looks incredibly well. I just don't really like the gold that the weapon has, because I'm not really a huge fan of gold like applied to weapons, but regardless. Some people like it, some may hate it, but regardless, it's really good. I love it. I also love the black base color to it that makes it much more beautiful, and when the sun and the lighting hits right on the weapon, the shining effect looks incredibly beautiful, so it gets a solid 9 out of 10. That is practically all I have to offer so far. I hope you enjoyed this video. This may seem a little bit rushed, but I'm kinda busy with personal life, so fuck you. I don't really care at this point. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed these 2 parts of videos. Sorry if it was divided into 2 parts, because I was sort of lazy to turn it into a full-fledged video, so I apologize for that. But regardless, I hope you have a very good day. Until then, stay safe and have a very good day. Bye bye.